This week on New to You, looking forward, 2017.
We need some optimism here, baby.
Gotta optimize it.
Yeah, it's going to be all you, Keith. You bring the optimism.
Hey, everybody.
I'm out.
Welcome to the last episode in season 2 of
The last episode of the year. Of this brilliant, amazing year. That
Though,
is
depending on where it airs, it might air like on the 2nd or something.
the 2nd of
January.
Oh, that's fine. So it's the first one of this legitimately good year,
Yeah.
2017.
So after this, it'll pick up with 301, which is season 3, episode 1. And which puts us maybe 12 episodes shy of 100 right now.
Ooh.
So we're getting there.
Countdown begins.
Yeah.
What are we going to do for the big hundy?
We're going to play that song,
I have
The
no
Final
clue
Countdown.
yet. We got to figure. That's
Nice.
something we'll figure out.
We're
Hopefully
going to
before we
get
have
the
it.
rights to it so I can mouth
We'll play
sing
it
it.
backwards. Mine
We'll
goes.
kazoo it.
The final count up.
There we go.
Positivity. So last episode and this is sort of a two-parter, sort of. Last episode we talked about things that we stuck with us coming out of 2016.
Yeah,
We made a few recommendations for you. out
Yeah.
there.
We looked back on 2016.
Right. Recommendations is kind of what we're all about here at the New to
yeah.
You show. So
That's our life's blood.
yeah, man,
Life's blood?
it's
Life's
like the
blood?
water that flows through us.
Couldn't be any cooler.
Yeah, that's right. Maintains and regulates our system.
So just talk around us.
Yeah, talk around us. Talk about us.
Mm-hmm.
We had a bunch of recommendations. This time we wanted to kind of look forward as we wrap up the season and as we enter a new year. Stuff that we may or may not talk about on the show, but stuff that's kind of like we're already casting our eyes forward, living in the next moment.
That's what we're looking forward
There's
to.
probably
or-
some quote about the future. Insert quote. Yeah.
Yes.
So, I'm one of your hosts, John Holt. Keith, who are you?
My name's Keith. Keith Vincent. I'm one of your hosts. Jules, who
I'm
are you?
Julian Cage. Another
right.
one of your hosts.
All right. So let's roll right into 2017. Jules, why don't you take it away?
Hey, wait. No. Let's take ourselves a little journey.
In the year 2017.
It's a cold January 2017.
Nuclear winter.
Welcome to the future.
That's
Jules, when you close your eyes and imagine this, what are you looking forward to?
I see orange. Orange.
Orange Revolution?
In 2017, so some of the things I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to The Daily Show and The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. I feel like with our new incoming president, I feel like those shows are going to be good again.
What about Jon Stewart's HBO show that's in production?
Oh, really?
I'm
I didn't
really
even know about
looking
that.
forward to that as well.
Maybe I made it up.
Oh, that's possible.
I don't think I did, though.
Well, that'd be
Hey,
stepping
man.
on John Oliver's toes pretty good, I think.
It may have a different format.
John's just making news. That's part of 2017. That's our future.
Yeah,
now.
just make it, man. Just
Yeah.
be it.
Yeah. We're in the post-fact world.
Well, I made this statement recently where I'm like, he should just run for president in 2020. Jon Stewart.
That's an interesting idea. I don't think he's going to do it, though.
Here's the deal. He's starting an animation studio.
What?
And it's going to be an animated parody of cable news.
What?
Yeah.
No, you're not serious.
Nope,
Oh, man, 2017 is just not looking so good.
He acquired a 3D graphics startup, Oito, O-T-Y-O-Y. So we'll see how that goes. Oof.
Interesting. Wait, is it like those? Wasn't it those? Was it a Chinese company that was doing all those like?
Oh, yeah,
topical-
Korean, I think. It was a Korean company.
No,
yeah.
this crew does more
But
like
I mean, do you think that was his inspiration?
they've been doing like realistic 3D environment kind of stuff, and they've been doing a lot of like VR experience stuff. Like that's
I have a
branded.
feeling what they are, the technology they're going to be doing with him is like basically real-time lip sync in real time.
Also,
So that somebody
they're also
basically
like a
can read off a teleprompter.
They've
and
also been doing a lot of hologram tech for like live performances, so it seems like it could be kind of weird, which is cool. It's actually
That's interesting.
it's not just like a flash shit show, like
Yeah.
like where it's a bunch of like
Yeah.
tweeny,
Well, that'll be interesting.
tweeny like jokey stuff.
But already I've been getting back because I'd kind of stopped watching The Daily Show regularly. I think, Trevor Noah was kind of like finding his footing. It was a bit awkward at first, and I feel like he's getting more comfortable in the role, and I just feel like they also just have so much good material to chew on now.
There's so much meat, yeah.
Yeah, because I think,
Well, I think for me that turning point. Did you guys watch the interview with the blonde woman who's like a YouTuber? She's like a
Well, no, she's actually she has a TV show of some sort where she's
Really?
basically like one of these opinion people that can.
I think it's a YouTube series.
Oh, perhaps it is, but I've seen her clips of her on TV.
But it's specifically like she's a millennial with,
But it's like
with
a-
like Ann Coulter-esque, like
Yeah.
cultish blinders on for the right kind of stuff.
yay.
Yeah, and so he had her on, and it was like
Trevor Noah had her on?
yeah, and it's like a 26-minute segment that's pretty amazing.
Wow.
And brutal, like hard to watch. But he does really well in it, and
Yeah.
and it's a different take than like Jon Stewart would have taken.
Yeah.
But he threads a fine needle, and it comes off interesting.
Yeah. No, well, I think he does have, I think like
Larry
John
Wilmore.
John Oliver, he also has a bit of an outsider perspective as well, which I think like adds an interesting
Right.
layer.
Except that Trevor Noah's outsider aspect is kind of going to come in handy considering he lived during apartheid.
Yes.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So
yes.
it's kind of like pretty good experience to bring to the table right around now.
Oh man. And so
He's a fascinating guy though too. His parents were interracial during the apartheid.
Yeah.
Like that's a rare bird, and
yeah. So his very existence was illegal,
yeah,
and they had to keep him secret and so forth.
Wow.
So, yeah, interesting backstory. So I'm looking forward to those, and also Colbert I think has been pretty fired up post election. So
Michael Moore's back in action.
Listen.
Not as excited. about
I've
that.
always been a big fan of Michael Moore, but I just this go around he's really
He's just
not doing it for me.
and I just can't like his chin is just disappearing entirely.
Yeah, well that doesn't bother me. So the there was a movie he made recently, and I was working at this animation studio, and I actually got to do some graphics, and so I'm credited on a Michael Moore movie. And I remember when that happened, I was like, I'm so psyched. Because I'm a big fan of like Bowling for Columbine. What is it? Mike and Me. What was the
Roger and Me.
Roger and Me, and a lot of his movies, Fahrenheit 9/11, like are amazing and really great. But as soon as this election got over and he started, I'm just like, dude, he's just, I don't know, it just smacks of opportunism.
I don't think it's opportunism, but I think it's just more that I think he in some ways uses some of the same, like he uses some of the same tactics and language that
Right.
he's kind of trying to be, because he's more in your face and he's more like he's not afraid to manipulate things a little bit, and to bring emotion into things.
I also think that he has a very clear narrative about
Yes.
like the white working class, and unfortunately, the big problem that the white working class has is all that the black working class, like that the black lower class is getting, any sort of leg up, like, and there's a certain like.
But they're not in comparison. It's well, anyway.
But what I'm saying is his narrative, like coming in with his narrative post-election and saying you guys weren't paying attention to these people, blah blah blah. I still think that doesn't hold water, because the reason those people voted was not because of jobs or because their lives were falling apart. It was because a black guy was in the White House.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, it's really, you can't
I don't know.
divorce.
I think there are enough people voted for Trump that you can't make those kind of blanket statements, unfortunately.
About everybody?
I think he was just like, I think because he was perceived as an outsider, and I think he was just this quote I like a lot. He was an imperfect vessel to a lot of people, where he was like, well, he's got problems, but
well, here's
like
I will say this.
Hillary.
I will make this blanket statement about every Trump voter. If you weren't filthy rich and you voted for him, you're dumb. I'm just going to say.
Vox had a really fantastic article about interviewing a woman whose husband, like basically their health insurance prior to Obamacare coming out, before the ACA, was like $1,200 for their family a month or something, and that was too much for them. And so they just lived without it. And over the course of living without it and trying to get by, her husband developed non-alcoholic cirrhosis. So he was getting real sick, and they had to be very careful about the drugs he was on, but they could only afford to get his blood done once a year instead of the every 30 days like he should have. And then once the ACA comes around, they can actually afford health care and do okay. And you know what? These interviewers are like, hey, you're going to lose that. Like that's what he was saying all the time. And she's like, I don't believe that he was really going to do that. And now, and the more as the interview goes on, she gets more like, I'm really scared. And it's really, it's really painful to watch people have someone gently peel away the whatever it is, the blinders, whatever self-enforced.
Well, really, it's the narrative that they were sold. Like it's a narrative that's been like from the very beginning. They politicized Obamacare, and they were just like, it's bad because it's from Obama. Like it doesn't matter what it is. It's like the Republicans were just like, this is bad no matter what.
But and at the heart of that, it's an othering. Yeah. And it's like, again, that's why for me, it comes down to you're against it because this dude is black and because the handouts are going to black people. And you're ignoring the fact that you're actually benefiting from these handouts, and a lot of people are. And that's.
I mean, it's a tale as old as, as the country and probably before that. Yeah, I mean, the. Bob Dylan, You're Only a Pawn in Their Game, talks about this very thing, where it's just like, what do you benefit from electing a rich white guy? Like, why do you keep voting against your best interests? And it just keeps happening. And it's because, they allow themselves to continue to be pawns in this game.
So yeah, that's 2017.
2016. 2016.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
I mean, it's similar to when Yes, I've seen All Good People said, you move to black to any white square, go on back again. Like it's another chess metaphor in a song.
All right, so looking forward to a minute.
Sorry,
looking forward to 2017.
No, but one of the things you mentioned is that you're just looking forward to all the comedy and amazing.
Yeah, I think that that's another silver lining. There's just a lot of great material for satirists to chew on.
I mean, this is dark, but honestly, there's going to be a lot of art across the board that is going to come out of this. Pain breeds and stress breeds art.
Yeah,
people are going to have a lot of emotion and a lack of outlets.
Yeah,
and you're going to get a lot of good music, and you're going to get a lot of good expression that's sort of been lacking.
And it motivates people. I mean, I think no matter what, Trump has definitely shaken things up.
You think?
Well, I don't think it's for the better, but he has undoubtedly shaken things up. That's all I can say for him.
Maybe we'll get some real punk again.
But I think another thing I'm looking forward to in 2017 is I'm going to be doing a lot more. I'm going to be, I think, reading. I'm doing a lot more reading, both. I mean, that's more aspirational reading. I want to read more books. But also, I think I'm going to be reading the news a lot more than I used to.
So that comes to like one of the things people were kind of told to do, or if they want an outlet, is to subscribe or give to media outlets.
Help support.
Which I did, which is part of why I'll be reading more news.
Did you subscribe to the New York Times?
Yeah, and the Washington Post and a couple other publications. I actually tend to prefer, though,
You're like a New York Post Inquirer kind of guy.
I was actually I totally pulled away from reading the news regularly, and I think I'm going to try to find a balance because like I definitely enjoy reading things like the New Yorker or Harper's, where they kind of wait a couple months and then really during that time they're digging deep, and then they have a very thorough, like more nuanced look at things. The like kind of front page
Really
reactionary,
long form.
reactionary news reading, like daily news reading, I find just like generally leaves me feeling upset and
It's like hamster wheel kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's not very productive. It tends to be reactionary. So, or it's just presenting facts but not a full picture. So it's kind of like if you read a lot all the time and you also like, I also don't have like an amazing memory, so I don't put the pieces together as well as I could by just reading an individual story. Be like, oh yeah, well that follows up on this thing that happened 2 months ago, So I think I don't think I'm going to be glued to it, but just trying to. But nonetheless, being aware of what's going on to some extent. And I feel like, I got a little lax during the Obama years, and like there's certainly things weren't not perfect during that time either. But there you go. So that's one of the things. And then fake news and real news. There'll be more of that, I think, in 2017. I think in terms of more fun things, the movies, I'm kind of looking forward to more Star Wars. I don't know why, but I think that's a nice thing to look forward to every year.
So by this show we'll have seen Rogue One. Are you going to try to see it, KV?
Sometime eventually. I don't know. With the kid, it's difficult.
Take him.
No.
Take him to a matinee.
Yeah, I'm going to take him to the Alamo Draft House and sit right next to you.
Go to a talking episode or talking theater time. It'll be fine.
I was joking with Holt recently how the whole Trump presidency was actually a very complicated marketing scheme by Disney to get us all really ready for a movie about rebellion for Rogue One.
I don't know. It also does have me like way more primed for escapism in general.
Yeah.
I'm like,
take me away.
Yes, please. I'm also like another film that I'm sort of. I don't know if I'm looking forward to it, but I'm sort of curious about is Trainspotting 2.
Oh, wow.
Which I have mixed feelings about. I don't know. I think it could either be brilliant or just like, or I'll wish they had not made it. I'm not really sure where I stand right now.
I already kind of feel like I wish they hadn't made it, but
yeah,
but it might be great.
Yeah, it could be interesting, to see those characters 20 years later or whatever. I think that could be interesting depending on how they play it. And the other thing is that I think there's going to be more great podcasts, and the streaming services I think are really going to start overtaking. I mean, already I'm finding myself overwhelmed with like Netflix just dropped so many new shows at once, and I almost
still haven't watched Gilmore Girls.
Right. I mean, I almost like I can't even keep all the shows they just dropped in my head, like you mentioned The Crown, and I just like kind of was flipping through and I'm like, what are all these shows? And I guess I'm going to have to maybe wait until like people start telling me, oh, you got to watch X, Y, or Z because there's just too much to just watch them all. I think too,
and this is something, I don't know, I think they're figuring out their algorithm. Like, it's winter, that's when we release things. Yeah. Because people like tend to be in and watching stuff. Like,
makes sense.
And the other aspect of that is like there's also, you go to your family's house and you might turn on a show and be like, hey guys, we're going to watch, you guys will really like this. We're going to turn it on and watch this first episode together. And it sort of spreads to that new social group through someone kind of sharing it directly because they just can turn it. Everyone has Netflix. You turn it on and go.
I get that, but the downside is that I suppose in another way they're also just building their catalog, and because it's this ongoing subscription. But there is this thing. I guess maybe it's me that I have to readjust, but it's kind of by releasing so much all at once, like like the marketing of the shows kind of gets lost, and you're kind of like. You don't know what to watch when and all that kind of stuff,
Well,
like,
the good thing is
it's harder to have a cultural moment, I guess.
Because we're living, like it's harder, I think, to just sit down and try a movie.
Yeah.
It's easier to sit down and try a 44-minute or a half-hour show and give it a go.
And then it's also then easier to get sucked into it and watch more than the length of the movie you were like, that's too long.
But the idea is that if you you're going to give that a chance even without like you're basically willing to kind of like give it a go for a half hour and you'll get a sense of it, even if you don't know what Master of None is or something.
Yeah.
Like you just try it. And
I guess it's weird. I guess I've been watching less to where like I've basically been watching like one or two shows at a time, and I just watch them beginning to end, and then I go on to the next thing kind of thing. To where like I kind of want to know already, like when I'm getting into something, like I almost don't even want to give it that like unless somehow it's grabbed me. But there's a lot of shows that don't. But then it's not until I'm told
Right.
about it or that something grabs me that I'll really like get into it. Yeah, there's been a bunch of shows where on the face of them, like they didn't seem that interesting, but then a lot of people recommended them, and then I was like,
yeah, I
okay.
wonder if it's like that, if the other aspect of this, like you're saying, catalog building, but also this model where, like a big box store, they have the deals. They have the like, you come in to buy the $15 toaster or whatever, but then you're going to buy toilet paper and cream cheese and blah at market value, at retail price.
Yeah.
And that's where they get you.
Unless you go to Costco, in which case it's all good.
There you go.
But
But that's that's a wholesale club. You're already paying a fee to be there, and so they use that to like monetize their base or whatever. But that's but the idea being that I have you on a subscription, and I want to maintain that subscription. I don't want you to come on and off because of a certain show.
Right.
So I put out 4 shows. And you binge watch show 1, and you're like, oh, well, what now? Flip. Oh, show 2, I'll watch that through. Oh man, I watched that, was okay. Let's try these 2 shows. Show 3, show 4. Show 3, I don't like it so much. Show 4, okay, great. By the time you're done with those shows, they've already got a new batch of shows out.
Or
and
the
you're
second season of the show you
right.
liked.
So
or
it just
whatever. Yeah.
so then you're in the cycle, like you're in the like I think that part of this whole streaming thing where they binge drop or they drop everything at once is figuring out, if we're going to put out a year's worth of work that someone's going to watch in 2 weeks, how do we maintain that pace and keep them interested? Like it's almost like makes more sense, I think, to do it like they're doing it, because you'll go, okay, I'm done with this. I'm going to go to the next thing, explore. There's all these neat things. I'm not going to cancel my subscription, even if I don't watch any of these things, because something, I might find something I like.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. They've also, another thing I'm looking forward to is I think they made some kind of deal with Disney, because I've noticed like Zootopia popped up on Netflix.
They've had a deal with Disney for a long time. In fact, there are rumors that Disney might buy them soon.
Ooh,
yeah.
That would be really interesting.
It would not be, because Disney does not need to own more stuff.
Right.
That's also
It's
true.
also interesting because
Don't they have a stake in...
who's doing Trolls? Who's streaming? There's like DreamWorks has some shows. Who owns DreamWorks now? Is it NBC Universal?
I don't know.
I don't know. Well,
no, DreamWorks Animation is owned by Universal. I'm fairly
okay.
certain, yeah.
So, but they have a bunch of deals with streaming services for TV shows that they have in production right now, and I think that a lot of the work that's happening right now is being sold to streaming services, and so it'll be interesting to see if one of these networks, effectively these media companies, purchases the platform, what happens to all the other content? Like,
Right.
HBO is maybe an example of this, where who owns, I don't know, I probably research it, but who owns HBO at the top?
I think it's its own thing. I don't think they're
Right.
like a subsidiary of Sony or
Viacom
something.
or something. So if that were the case, like, because they have to make a deal for the movies they want to get or whatever,
Right.
And there are definitely like some, like Stars or one of those, I think is owned by Paramount or one of those. So, or not Paramount, but
Something like it.
so that there's certain movies that aren't going to be available on
HBO.
or other platforms without a deal. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to the streaming platforms. And then there's also, I don't know if you guys dealt with like CISO or any of those, where it's like very specific streaming package stuff. Where
Yeah,
it's like, it's like $4 a month, comedy only, with like original comedy shows and like all the Monty Pythons.
Right
and
now,
all this.
it really is like, it's essentially like we're getting the, on like, what was it?
A la carte.
Yeah, the a la carte cable deal, but
Right.
but through a different guise is kind of what it's starting to feel like. I don't know
Well,
whether or not
it can, but you can only support so many of those before you start getting really expensive.
Yeah, or just or overwhelmed. I'm
Right.
wondering if
but that's sort of like the podcast or one of those kind of like I don't know, maybe not podcast, but that's sort of that like streaming service music thing, or I don't know, you can have so many different subscription services, sort of like versus paying $15 for a Hulu. If you really only watch action movies and horror movies, and those are the things you want, you might pay $10 a month for those two things, and then have your Netflix account on top.
There's
of
also
that.
already starting to be deals where I think through I believe it's Amazon and maybe also Hulu, where basically these larger streaming services are offering those subsets. I think through Hulu you can pay extra per month to get Showtime. And through Amazon and also I think maybe CISO and things like that,
or Shudder or one of those.
Yeah, so maybe that's where there might be some consolidation in that way, but I don't know. I'm very curious to see, where we end up as this trend continues, because right now it's I kind of feel like the big players are kind of vying for dominance. They're both spending tons of money, like Amazon and I think it's really Amazon and Netflix are just trying to outspend each other making original shows to kind of I feel like win the streaming wars maybe. But
also
maybe there's enough room for all of them. I don't know.
Well, also Hulu is in there too because they're fighting with Amazon for who's going to be the one with the newest neat original kids show thing. They're
And
but
Hulu's
in a way
network backed, right?
Yeah, they're network backed. I think it's they're several companies all own shares of them, so that kind of gives them an advantage. The other advantage, Hulu, I think, what sets them apart is they really we have the new broadcast shows. You can watch your sitcoms here. Whereas Netflix and Amazon tend to get them a year later or with some delay, whereas here it's you can keep up with the currently the network shows on a week-to-week basis on Hulu.
I mean, on some of those they still shoot themselves a little bit where it's you can keep up but you better stay on top of it or else you're not you're gonna have to wait that other 18 months
if you let them expire or whatever.
If you basically they only keep 3 to 6 episodes of something, so 6 episodes in, if you haven't watched a show until the 7th week, you're never going to see that first episode until
and I don't know how long that's
40 weeks later.
I don't know how long that strategy is going to stay relevant. I think it's it works for older cord cutters, people who were used to cable and want that, but I feel for the younger generation who never watched TV normal
cable
TV
episodics or whatever.
Yeah, I think they're going to care less about that. So I don't know.
No, you're right. It's got a ticking time bomb attached to it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who's winning. HBO is winning. They've got it. They own cable and they own streaming. They're just
maybe. I think they're
at this table there are 3 of us. Who has HBO Go subscription?
I do.
Yeah, but I also
John
have
does
Netflix.
too, right? Yeah, but
Amazon.
I have all of them also.
But you don't have cable.
I don't have cable. I mean, internet. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have cable, but I subscribe to too many streaming services.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know. It's interesting because I feel like YouTube might be winning in a weird way. They're not winning I think they're winning the attention game. I think in general, people spend more time watching YouTube than they do anything
especially
on Netflix
younger people
or HBO. But even I'm finding myself watching. I think that's part of why.
You think you spend more time on it, or you watch more things?
I think
you can rent movies on YouTube now.
I easily spend more time because for some reason, if I'm gonna have stuff in the background or basically things that I will end up watching throughout the day, not I'm sitting down to watch entertainment, but I'm just gonna have some noise around or I want to stop and take a break for 10 minutes. That's almost exclusively YouTube. And I also subscribe to YouTube Red or whatever.
Well, I think what may set the streamers apart a little bit, and the new sort of thing is the downloadable take it with you content. Amazon's had it for a while,
and now
Netflix has it
on some shows. Yeah,
limited.
But that makes sense because that's
a big
based on deals.
That's a big deal. It's harder. YouTube is a streaming service. Like, you have to buffer everything you watch.
No, that's not true. If you have YouTube Red, you can offline stuff to watch on the subway and so
You
forth.
wish.
No, you can. I've done it. I've
No
done
such
it.
thing. I try to watch live stuff.
No,
Jules.
but HBO doesn't offer that, so that's
I know.
kind of where. But they're really like they're still.
I think they because maybe they are more independent. They have
Yeah.
their personal shows.
Well, HBO does, they're a subscription. They've been a subscription forever.
Yeah.
And they know that as soon as you start downloading and sharing the latest episode of Westworld, you're losing your power of keeping those people
I
on.
guess, but I mean, they make it. I mean, all these. It's almost all exclusively through like iOS or like kind of mobile device apps where you can download. You can't really download to your computer, I don't think. Or if you can, like,
you can do it to a laptop and stuff.
I guess,
with
but
Amazon.
it's basically like ways that they're not easy. They don't make it easy to share,
They
and
aren't as crackable.
and somebody who's gonna hack stuff could just hack a stream anyways. So it's not really like.
Just rip a stream.
Yeah,
Stream
I
ripping.
think it's more an issue in terms of the deals you make with
right,
outside
like what's
vendors.
allowed.
But I think like HBO could easily do it with their own
Original
shows.
content, yeah.
Like if they wanted to, but I think they're like kind of they're in transition, and
Right.
I don't think they need
They aren't
need
chasing
that
that,
necessarily.
yeah.
They're already well established.
Yeah. So what else, Jules? Anything else sticking out? Some VR stuff, maybe?
I'm less. I feel like 2017. It's gonna like there was a big. 2016 was a big release of everything, and I feel like 2017 is gonna be kind of like.
The debug year.
Maybe, yeah, or it's going to be like, I think there's going to be a bit of the disappointment year, maybe. Like where, because I think it's still going to be too early for a lot of big new title, like games to come out. But I mean, I think there's going to be some stuff.
I think
coming out.
it'll be interesting to see like this is the first big holiday with a consumer level VR system in the PlayStation stuff. That it'll be interesting to see like what the demand looks like. When a new console comes out, sometimes it takes well up to a year
Yeah.
for any like real good games to come out for it.
Yeah.
And so with the people are already been playing with and experimenting with the VR, maybe in 6 months you'll get to see more stuff like that being worked on for PlayStation or whatever. But
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel like PlayStation's the only thing that has a big chance of getting a big boost over the holidays. I feel like
But
the
I
other
think-
systems aren't.
But I think what you're going to see, not over the holidays, but I think what you're going to see is that if a developer is making it for PlayStation and it's going to go on Steam or something like that, they're going to figure out other ways that they can port it because PlayStation inhibit certain things.
Yeah.
And if they really want to showcase what their thing can do, it's still early days yet. So if you want to make the best looking game you can for the money you have, you'll probably downgrade it like for the PlayStation experience.
I think the problem I'm having is that I'm not that interested in games per se.
Right.
Like I'm more interested in like weird experiences, like in things that basically like have to are going to be more indie, and I think would have to come after after it's had mainstream success. So I feel like, but I'm also excited about like these art creation tools, and I feel like the people who are trying to build up the platform are gonna keep investing in those. So
Right.
I no matter what, I'll definitely have those to play with.
I think that you're in luck. You say you're more interested in the like kind of interesting experimental. I think that there's of all the we've grown up during all the video game stuff, and I feel like from day one, from the NES days, there's always been almost like a barrier to being a part of that. I think VR, from what I've seen so far, is way more open to people just doing it themselves.
Yeah,
and building things like small companies doing interesting things with it.
No, it's true, and there are a lot of interesting experiments out there. But the problem is that it's a big investment to make something like really high quality in VR. And
yeah.
So that's the thing. Like there are a lot of neat experiments, but you always kind of after a short period of time, you're like, okay, but like,
Right.
I like who's gonna take this to the next level, and especially like for immersion, I think like graphical quality is really important, and that's something that small developers can't really afford. So,
Yeah, but I think if you build, that's an issue though that you can build into a story as to why if
Right,
you
right.
if you
It's
come up with an
obstacle to
interesting
overcome.
well, no, I mean yes, but I think that you don't even have to overcome it if you're clever with whatever whatever it is the thing is. So
Yeah.
the game that we actually really like, the one where it's like the robots
The
showing
job
you,
simulator.
yeah, like in the future the people have robots do all their work, so they have to have this simulator show them what it was like to work. I mean, that's the perfect example of them creatively coming up with a reason why the graphics aren't super great.
That reminds me. That actually does remind me of something, a specific thing that's coming out that I'm excited about. Is the same guys who made that game teamed up with the Rick and Morty creator.
Oh, wow.
And they're making a version of Job Simulator that's basically you're in Rick's, or is it Rick? Who's the scientist? Is it
Rick.
Yeah, in Rick's lab or garage or whatever, and you basically like have all these weird experimental
neat.
things that you can play with. But then they also are working in a lot of character moments. But the thing they're figuring out is, how to bring in narrative elements without, but still leave you in control of the experience. So, yeah, I think it's just. I mean, right now it's still new enough that there's so much to figure out that I think there's still going to be interesting things coming up all the time. I guess I think that was it for me for 2017 stuff. I'm excited about.
So 2017, I'm excited to keep going to the Draft House. I don't know if it's going to come out in 2017, and I don't know if we'll be able to get tickets, but that Harry Potter and the Cursed Child play, I don't know if you guys know. So J.K. Rowling wrote a play.
Somebody was just telling me
It's like a Harry Potter
about
thing.
this.
In the UK, I think it wrapped in the UK, and it's going to come to the US pretty soon. It'll be a little bit different the way the stage show's done. It's going to be on Broadway, and in the UK, the tickets sold out for the entire run, 250,000 tickets on the first day.
What?
So the whole show sold out on the first day, and I almost want to try to get tickets just to try to get tickets, like get on the
Like for the U.S. version? Or?
For the Broadway one.
It is coming here. Yeah.
So I haven't read the screenplay. You can get it as a book, not screenplay. The stage, the script or whatever is in a book form.
The book of the book.
The book of the book. But it's like the actor's script or something. Like there's a specific name for the draft you can buy. You can also buy, I guess, a screenplay for Fantastic Beasts got published as a book, but
that wasn't a book. Fantastic Beasts was always just straight to a film script.
No, they made like Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them was just like a little supplement book, like a chapter, not even a chapter book, like a picture of a griffin. Griffins are stinky or whatever, like. That it was just kind of like a world fiction sort of thing that you could buy, and it was that and some other thing. It came in like a 2-box set, but they're just like little flimsy paperback things. There was no narrative to speak of in those, so it was kind of a spoof of a field guide kind of thing. Exactly.
Yeah.
It was a world immersive sort of expansive product.
Okay.
And so they just have taken it and used it to jump off and launch like a whole new set of narratives. Which is good. I mean, it's a fun world to play in, and I'm glad that it's maintaining.
Keith, did you see Fantastic Beasts?
I have not. No,
it was fun.
Yeah.
I will say that
it was pretty meh.
It's pretty it's pretty cool. What I like about it, I mean, I didn't see the movie, but what I like about what Rowling has been able to do is, it's not easy to create a world where everyone wants to make a story within that world. That's Star Wars does it. Star Trek maybe. Think of how many different Star Trek things have. Yeah. Well, you should talk to my niece. But there aren't many universes that have been created by writers or whatever where everyone wants to just say no, we're cool. Let's keep making stuff in this universe.
Twilight.
I think that's pretty neat.
Most people, not just the rabbit.
Not just John Holt.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
There's a new Sonic the Hedgehog 3D TV show. It looks pretty nice.
Is it
I saw
VR
some
3D
clips.
TV
I saw
show?
some clips today. But that's I find that to be pretty interesting, because what makes a universe so captivating that people don't want to leave it and that fans are just really willing to just kind of create their own stuff
Right.
within that universe. It's just something welcoming about it. That
Yeah. I mean, I think
is
what's
very special.
What's nice about those kind of stories, like Star Wars and this and the Harry Potter universe, is that they structure a world where they're telling one tale, and there's enough broad content off to the side
Yeah.
to support that tale without it being like I would kind of argue like Game of Thrones is like there's an RPG for Game of Thrones.
That's going to happen once the books are over. I think that people are going to want to dwell in that universe.
But at the
as
same
well.
time, it's drawing. It's basically because it's a take already on some fantasy tropes and a take on historical fiction. That there's like it's 100 Years War meets like dragon riders of Kryn or something, and so it's like it's sort of like a post modern fantasy world or whatever. Like it's like another aspect of fantasy that it's a little bit it's still a pretty broad world. He's done a lot with it, but he's telling a lot of different stories in a masterful way, where the world that J.K. Rowling, like the story she's telling is very simple. It's a simple like hero's tale, and the world is not reliant on tons of references to our outside world in a like she'll make his mythological references or sort of like pull in Latin here and there, but it's more for flavor than for substance. And so it makes the world a little more, it's actually less perfect, and that makes it more like flexible and fittable for like your own concepts and ideas and creations.
it's malleable enough
Right.
for you to
Yeah, so like you can write yourself into it, or
Yeah.
write your own stories into it. Like that is something that Star Wars allows too, because they don't explain what the Force is or where it comes from or this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's true. But Game of Thrones explains and describes a lot of things.
Right. Like
Well, I will say though that one of the detriments of the Harry Potter universe is the more they explain, the less fun it is. Like the first 3 books, there's so much that's not explained, and the more that they kind of chip away at it and explain, it just gets
Yeah, I mean,
not fun. Like the Deathly Hallows was just such a dumb.
I argue with the opposite. I think
thing.
that actually for the world, what happened is it started really broad without much explanation.
Yeah,
And as
just
they
threw
get,
you right in.
and as they get sort of closer on the story, the world is left alone a little more, and it's very, very much about the characters. Like the world is established to some degree, and we're just making sure the specifics. The big issue I have with that development was that they didn't. Like the magic system is very, very much like, this is what I need to happen, so this is the rule now. And that's something that's a little loosey goosey.
Well, I think that there are a lot of things that got explained away that I think were silly, like these people aren't riding on carriages that can propel themselves. There are weird invisible horse
Death monsters,
creatures
yeah.
pulling them, and it's like, all this food that magically appeared for the banquet was actually all made by weird slave elves. It's just like
dirty
these
ones
are
too.
the-
Who do you
yeah.
want? Do you want those things touching your food?
And it's like, these are the way you explain these things? It's silly. Oh, he's got a cloak that turns him invisible because it's a magical world. No, this is just one thing that's been a gift from
And
God.
what separates them from the Muggles is the midichlorians in their blood.
You know what's kind of interesting is both stories, I mean, to bring it back to Godwin's Law, both stories are very much about like a fascist, like humans
oppressive.
Well, it's also humans only.
Yeah.
Where like the Empire is very much like, no, humans are really the only people, guys. Like all the others, like your fish people, are to be subjugated, and they're not human. And then in Harry Potter, it's like, you're not magical, you're not human. No, you don't count. Like, sorry. It's kind of like, maybe that's just another sort of like common harsh antagonistic trope that comes into play.
I think it's part of the age of the creators.
Yeah.
They both, baby boomers that grew up in the shattered world post World War II.
Yeah, like us. So yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with that. And if I don't know if a new Fantastic Beast is coming out, it might be the year after that. But I found it fun. I like the property, and I want it to keep going. And same with the Star Wars stuff.
I think Fantastic Beasts just confirmed that I really don't care about it. Or I don't know. I'm just very
Well,
I'm very like meh about it.
Yeah, I mean, it might be great, and I apologize if it is, but there's nothing made me want to go see that. And
I mean, it was fine. I just think I just don't find the world that she built that compelling.
I think it's actually one of the better Harry Potter movies too.
Yeah, because it's not an adaptation.
It's like they can very much like focus on how they build the characters. It's about the direction of
But wait,
things.
Eddie Redmayne's still in it though, right?
Yeah, he plays Stephen Hawking.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say I did finally see The Danish Girl, and Edward Redmayne killed it in that movie. He's really, really good.
So when he's dressed like a lady, he's okay?
He's not dressed like a lady in most of that movie, so... He's dressed like a person trapped in a man's body who's a lady. I didn't give that movie any credit. I watched it. It's really, really good. It's so beautifully shot. I mean, it's just really, really well crafted movie. But getting back to Edward Redmayne and
so what is it that you don't like about him?
his voice. Well, first of all, what I really don't like about him is when he sang in Les Mis. It was terrible. It was like the worst. And this is a guy who kind of has given. This is coming from me, who has given up on musicals pretty much. And he just sang in the way that makes people hate musicals. There's a certain singing style that as a theater guy in high school and stuff, that's what people imagine people sing like in musicals, and that's what he did, and it was terrible. I hated it.
Terribly good.
It was just like, ugh. Come on.
That's the only reason?
His voice sounds like he just drank a bunch of milk. He's talking through a milk bubble all the time.
He did. He's a Frenchman. In the rebellion, that's all they had to drink.
But he's great in The Danish Girl, and I'll give him that.
So other big things. So I am looking forward to having a remodeled apartment. We bought an apartment. We're currently living in a second we have two now. We have the one we own and the one we rent. And
so which is your summer abode?
Yeah, exactly.
They're staying at the one by the lake.
Yeah, the spring.
They're by the park house now.
So come like April, end of April, we'll move out.
It's gonna take that long, April, huh?
Mm-hmm. It's just that's the whole thing. So it'll end of April.
So you're gonna do your renovation's gonna be like whole hog.
So it'll be February. Oh, it'll start in late January.
You finally get your fireman's pole.
Exactly.
That'd be great.
And this time it won't be attached to a fireman.
You get your torture rooms in there.
No torture rooms.
Well, why else have renovations if you don't get any of those cool like
pleasure domes? We're rebranding in 2017. We're doing whole hog. It's going to be like late January into late March. So it'll take like 8 to 10 weeks to do the whole thing. Floors, kitchen, bathrooms, everything, whole shebang. And that'll be interesting. It'll be nice.
And when you move in, you'll be done.
I know.
You're just gonna say, "Hey, that's it."
It'll be. We've been
get rid of all the hammers.
We've been in our current place like 10 years in Park Slope, so it'll be interesting to. And before that, we lived in Park Slope, or nearby there. So now we'll be on the other side of the park.
You've been in Park Slope since 2002, my friend.
Yep. So that's a while. So going on 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll do that move, and that'll be nice. We're already going out to Kensington, which is near Jules.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Getting deep into Brooklyn.
Yeah, we've been going.
Welcome to middle of Brooklyn.
This bar called the Hinterlands, which one thing I'm looking forward to is going there more often too. Kind of having it's not something I did very much. We used to go to the Commonwealth here and there. We weren't like big bar goers though. I don't think kind of ever was.
No.
Like I know, like again, we talked with Jace. You guys would go to he would go to the Silhouette down the street. Mm-hmm. RJ would go to that bar and in Cleveland Circle.
Cleveland Circle.
But Yeah, I don't know. I don't.
And
I don't
like
think-
Dave Killen was like always going to the
Grassroots.
Commonwealth and
The grassroots.
Oh, and the Commonwealth, right?
yeah, when he lived in
Park
Brooklyn,
Slope,
he was,
yeah. It'll be interesting to kind of have that. Like, it's really a block and a half from where we live, and it's sort of.
Well,
it's
that's
like
a
the
place.
neighborhood bar.
I mean, it's a bar, but it also has a lot of like gaming stuff that you enjoy.
Yeah,
or
it's
it's
more,
like a
it's
center
like
for
friendly
that.
for that. I
Yeah.
think it's still it's pretty much a bar.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
but it's
and sometimes you want to go, where everybody knows your name.
That's right. Maybe I'll get a stool or something. But yeah, so that'll be nice to have, and it's an interesting area to live in. It'll be like a new adventure to try living in that place. We'll have a little more space, which is nice, and yeah. Got to deal with the co-op though. That'll be something
It'll
else.
be fine. It's gonna be good.
We can't make loud noises after 10:30 or something like that. There's certain rules.
What is a loud noise?
I had like playing guitar or something to play them in headphones. After
You'll be
10:30
all right.
or 11. Yeah, I'll be fine. It'll be good.
Your cats, though, they got to go.
Yeah, they'll
They're
go
loud
right out
after
the
10.
window. Yeah, so that's a big thing I'm looking forward to, is having that sorted. I don't know. With that comes a lot of expenses, so I did want to kind of get some traveling in, like try to get to LA and see like.
You mean before
friends.
April or?
No, just before the year's up again. Like I'd hoped to do some this fall, but it'd be nice to get out to LA. It'd be nice to get just out and see friends and stuff. Austin would be great to get to, but.
Well, now's the time. I mean, it's cold. Just go now. You know what I mean? Or like within the next couple months.
I mean, again, it's part of that's just, like a little belt tightening while we rent a place and are renovating another place.
Yeah.
It requires a little like closeness, like bringing lunch for the first time, even though we live in or work in a neighborhood that has really good takeout. So that's something. But yeah. So that's something I'm looking forward to, is having that done and doing the move. We're entering another stressful phase, but like post move, it'll just be nice. And then I'm also excited for the summer. We're going to go to Indianapolis again for Gen Con, and this is going to be the 50th anniversary of Gen Con.
Whoa.
So that's a new thing. Or, I mean, it's not new, but it'll be nice. It's 50th. It might also be the last one we do for a little while. We'll just kind of see how it shakes out, just because it's really big, and there's other priorities going to come up.
Have you been going to it long enough to notice if it's getting bigger every year, or is it just?
It gets bigger every year.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like 70,000+ people in the last run. So it's pretty sizable. But some, the stuff kind of comes and goes. Like I'm not always gonna be chasing the new board game or whatever, and going to the cons gets tiring. Like I'm already kind of tired of Comic Cons and anime cons and stuff, mostly because we did the circuit on them, like had to work them and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like disillusioned a little bit on those. Like they're fun and fine, but it's not something I spend the weekend doing.
I find it odd that cons are, getting bigger and bigger. They continue to,
Right. Yeah.
proliferate, but in the age of the internet, I just don't understand what you get there now, other than just having a meeting place with other people.
I think it's kind of like, it's in part because of the internet, because essentially it's like it's like the internet in real life is really what cons are becoming.
Right.
Because it's like all those like-minded people you usually are on a forum with, and exchanging like photos and progress on your costume and stuff. You get to actually like be there in person, and
or all the things
you're all-
that
Yeah, but could you not just do that at a parking lot? Like, if you make a meeting place, couldn't you
it's
just
not
say
just-
like, "Hey, we're gonna start a club," and
But
do
it's
that?
not just the people. It's that the people are also being drawn to all the things that they like being put in one
yeah, it's
place.
also like it's a big event.
So it's sort of like Penny Arcade is a prime example of that, which we're going for like a day this year.
the PAX.
And
PAX conference.
Yeah, the PAX. We'll go to PAX East for like a day, and mostly it'll be most of the weekend, which is becoming more and more. We'll spend with the family, like when we go up there, because it's really it's fun for a little bit. It's nice that they cap it. They only sell so many tickets. But, again, I'm not going to stand in line to play a demo of a game for like an hour or whatever. I'm not going to stand in line for an hour to play a demo of a game for 10 minutes. And I'm not there to buy the branded scarf or something like that. Like that's not
Or
That's
to
something
get
I'm chasing.
Or to collect all the pins.
Yeah,
Or
I'm gonna
whatever.
chase the pins. But they're not. But at the same time, the stuff like what's nice about Penny Arcade Expo is they have a board gaming section, where you can go play Magic or you can go paint miniatures.
Yeah.
It's a very like broad span.
Hands-on, too.
They've got the big time developers, but then they also have like Behemoth, who's like a middle level, like that's the dudes who used to do Newgrounds, and they have like Castle Crashers and that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have indie developers, and they're demoing all their games. And so there's indie board game designers, and they're showcased. And so you just get to see like a lot of interesting stuff. And like when Mary was buying her computer, it was kind of nice to like go look at all the gaming computers and talk to the people who actually sell the graphics cards about their product. And it was kind of a bunch of different things that intersect within our personal interests, like games and tech and all this stuff, all mashed into one place, and with people who are part of that world in like an expert level talking about it. So you can go
So is
chat.
that at Gen Con, or that's more
That's
specifically PAX?
That's more specifically PAX. At Gen Con, it's a similar thing where it's all the board games and RPGs and da-da-da-da-da. And they have some video games and they have like some of that, but it's sort of another one part of that diagram is just expanded. So it's tons of board games and it's a lot of fun. And it's also, what's nice about it is a lot of friends go. So that's another really exciting part. Like you kind of go as a group.
A travel group, yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice. But yeah.
I imagine that would be really fun at Comic-Con San Diego to do, like just
Go
crash
as a
with a bunch
big
of
group.
folks. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're a big like cosplayer and that's your community, I think
Or just a regular sized cosplayer, but really enthusiastic about it.
no, like a real big
Like
cosplayer.
big. like massive.
Like tall and muscular, like a fire pole. So, but if you're really big into cosplay and you're part of that community, that's like it's an event and it's a reason to go there and it's a reason to like show off your craft and spend time with people who share your craft, versus like, if you like a comic book and you're going to go because the guy who draws the comic book is going to be there, it's almost less of a reason. And that kind of, I don't chase signatures or anything like that. So that doesn't grab me anymore.
Well, to have the opportunity to meet some of the creators of some of these things.
Or a
you
bunch
love,
of
is
wrestlers.
great.
Comic-Con has tons of wrestlers now.
That's great. I think that's cool, except that's kind of the worst situation to try to meet somebody. There's so much pressure on once you're there, you should buy something. It's just, I don't know. I've become very disillusioned with it all.
I mean,
and I guess it's just me being old and
yeah. I mean,
It's just so
about it.
noisy and there's so many people.
and the kids with their scooters and their
yeah. I mean, I think
iPhone
the best
TVs.
the best thing about it, even though I don't really like Artist Alley, is probably still the best aspect of those, because
except like the like Sally Struthers like puppy dog pay me money faces on everybody. It's really like
you gotta turn
uncomfortable.
Turn your heart to ice extra hard and go in and find the guy like your John Romita Jr. that you want to see and say, hey man, how's it going? I'm going to support you by buying a print and I'm going to ask you to sign a thing and I'll tip you for that, and shake hands, chat.
Yeah.
And there you go. You've supported him in his booth and paid him the respect in money for being there and being available to chat with you. And then you walk past all the puppy dogs and like
all the real people who are like, John Romita Jr.'s already rich, you dummy.
And then you just
why don't you pay me? I'm making a great
Well, the key
indie
is you
comic.
flip through your mad wad of cash while you do that. It's sort of like
And you hum.
You go and you twiddle your diamond cane.
And then when you walk off, you say, "Fight for it, dogs," and you throw it in the air.
But yeah, I'm I'll probably, I don't know, I'll see if I do Comic-Con again this year. Again, it's not cheap anymore to do the badge, and I only go for a day, so
Yeah.
I will continue to not go to Comic-Con, especially New York Comic-Con.
yeah.
All right.
It's blown out. But yeah, so that's it for me. Looking forward to stuff. Good 2017. Keith, what about you? What are you looking forward to in 2017?
All sorts of stuff. My kid's getting older, and I'm looking forward to all the fun, silly things he's going to be saying in 2017.
Yeah, what's his next level? What's he gonna unlock this year?
Who knows? This kid says the weirdest stuff all the time already. And I can't even think of anything.
Does he
right
say
now.
the darndest things?
He does, like some kids do. But we're talking about, it's usually a recommendation show, so I can't recommend you hang out with my kid. But what I can recommend,
you could.
yeah, what that I'm excited about is I'm pretty excited about TV animation these days. There's a lot of good stuff. Maybe it's the waning of a great era of TV animation. I hope not. But I feel like the last couple of years have been really good for TV animation, and there's been some just amazing TV properties. BoJack Horseman is really, really fun and great.
Yeah, that's on my to-watch list. I just keep hearing good things about it and still haven't checked it out.
It's easy to watch the first couple and just be like, oh, it's just another kind of
It's another talking horse show.
down and out, like, how low can they go kind of a show. And it's like, I do kind of get sick of the like idiot TV show where it's just like, oh, he's going to keep doing this. And, I don't know. But that show, it gets rewarding. It remains rewarding. I really liked it. Adventure Time continues to be really good. Maybe they're going to keep going, but I don't know how much further they can go. They've been on for a really long time. Rick and Morty, as you mentioned, is just one of those shows that when I watch Rick and Morty, I'm like, I have a pretty high opinion of myself, but I could never make this show this funny. It's just really great. I see a lot of shows and I'm like, oh, I could have done better than that, but not Rick and Morty. Like that show, you just watch it and I'm just jealous that they can think like that. It's really, really, their minds are like lasers. And Steven Universe is cool. I can't wait to see what they're doing with that. And there's just a bunch of new animation projects and 3D animation for broadcast. I feel like is getting you can achieve more with less, and it's finally getting to a stage where. And there have been exceptions, of course, where there have been some pretty good broadcast 3D animation stuff. But I feel like
they're definitely the exception.
Yeah,
and there just weren't that many in general.
So far, no. But it's getting there, and it's getting to the point where stuff looks really good.
That's great. Is there something specific?
Reboot 2?
Reboot The Next Generation is coming out. Reboot Legacy.
RTNG.
No, I don't know about Reboot. There's a bunch of preschool shows that just look really nice in their 3D.
Dinosaur Train.
Paw Patrol show is really
That's 3D?
Mm-hmm.
It's Toon Shade or something?
No, it's straight up 3D. And there's just they finally found enough designers to make stuff look good in 3D too. I feel like that's been a problem for a long time. Is like you get a designer, they know what they're doing, but for some reason translating whatever they're doing to 3D just doesn't look that great. But they're really working out a lot of the kinks, and everything that all the movie studios is doing is just kind of helping that out.
Like DreamWorks Trolls TV show.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know if that.
There's probably also like
it is a thing.
There's probably also more students coming out of like certain schools with those skills,
like Steve Moverly.
And I think that the tools are getting good enough so that you don't have to kind of approach it as an engineer first and an artist second.
Yeah,
I think that there's a good balance where. You don't have to study to learn the software. You study to be an artist who can use the software.
Yeah, I think the software still has a little ways to go in that regard, but I think it's getting better. And there's also a lot more tools and information, and there's a lot more support if you want to get into it now than there used to be.
I'm excited about that. And I think a lot of what the Gobelins people are doing out in France, too, I think is finally making its way here through advertising, and also it's going to trickle its way down to TV stuff. So, that might not be a 2017 thing, but that's on its way.
I think so. I mean, I've definitely, even in 2016, we're seeing a lot more drawn animation in general.
Yep, totally. Well, also, we were watching Vimeo just put out their staff picks for 2016. Yule Log just came out. The Late Night Work Club Part 2 Strangers just came out, and just a ton of interesting work from those guys. But in the best films that were picked for animation, a lot of drawn stuff and a lot of nonverbal stuff. like almost
Well,
exclusively.
that's because a lot of the drawn stuff is happening in other countries, and I don't know what it is about art school where they think that you shouldn't ever have dialogue in you.
Well, I think it's not just that. I think it's also because, then you have to have good voice actors, and you have to know how to direct voice talent, and you have to edit it.
Yeah, I was
and
telling Eddie that because we were talking about this before, and he's like, "Why isn't there any because the sound design and the mix and the music are all on point."
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, but there's no dial in any of this stuff. And I was like, because a lot of reasons, like filmmakers will go into animation is so that they don't have to deal with actors.
I don't know. I just think that it's an education thing. I think that that's what people are taught in school that you should achieve.
Well, and honestly, I think learning that visual storytelling, it's like you want to learn how to say things with just the images as much as possible. And I feel like, a lot of bad, quote unquote, bad TV is just too reliant on dialogue, for everything. Whereas, I think part of the renaissance of television is that there's a lot more, quote unquote, cinematic stuff going on where there's a lot more being shown and less being said explicitly,
Yeah, but I mean, getting back to the animation stuff though, it just always annoys me when it bothers me when there's something that's just like, there's no dialogue and that's their style, but they always do like
oh yeah.
It's just like, ugh, just make the person say what, I mean, why is that hard? You can do that, you're an animator, just say what.
I think the other thing is then you also have to be a writer. Because again, like
they're already writers. They're writing this animation.
No, but writing dialogue is so hard. Like writing dialogue is so much harder. Like I speak from personal experience. I can visually tell a story, but I cannot write dialogue to save my life.
Because I was watching a short. It was by, I think it was a Korean or Japanese animator. It was a really fun short. It's like about basically these people who live in a pie, like sort of a round house, and they each have like a wedge-shaped room. And as they die off or leave, one of the characters starts to like spread the walls of their room, so they're kind of taking over the pie chart a little bit. And like they get one guy really fat and dead, like get him so fat that he dies in his bed because they just keep throwing food in his room. He's stuck in his room, and then a crane takes him away, and then they spread their room. There were these like crunchy weird sounds, and all the characters were kind of like weird. They're also like weird animalistic stuff, and it reminded me of UTD 2.
You mean urinating tobacco donkey part 2?
Yeah, part 2.
Yeah. That's a spoiler, Keith.
but that was one.
Dude,
where...
Jules, you had no problem writing that dialogue. That dialogue.
No, I wrote
was
that
well
dialogue.
written. Oh, okay.
Yeah, John wrote the dialogue.
But the thing is, like that dialogue.
I was like, John, they need to say some sad stuff.
I feel like I ad-libbed.
No, I wrote in
awesome.
thumbnailed like a lot of that stuff. Yeah, like I storyboarded that out. Yeah. But that was one where, again, the dialogue was totally like I mean, it's a UTD, but it's more about the weird characters and the cutaways to people sniffling and like shuffling that make it matter. That one, the dialogue there is actually a sound bed, and there's a little story to it, but it's not like it's less important than.
Yeah, it's more about like atmosphere.
It's more about the
atmosphere
atmosphere and more about the sound design and more about the subtle motions of the characters that make that work.
All I know is that often the sound design of those gets on my nerves, and it's just being at one too many film festivals, seeing one too many like
Flying Bra.
Yeah, it's just so much of that stuff. Or when they do have talking, it's some kind of weird wah-wah like, it's just like, just come on, man, you're ruining it. You're ruining your own piece. Yeah, that's one of the things I'm actually really excited about animation right now and TV, and hopefully this trend can continue. There are so many more outlets making new stuff, so I mean just tons of preschool stuff that I never knew existed. If you want to like do some head scratching, go on the Netflix Kids thing where it says characters and just look through all this stuff. You're like, how did these shows get made? I never even heard of
Kappa Mikey? Where does this come from?
Do you think a lot of them are like international shows?
Definitely, there is a great amount of them, but there are some where you're just like, no, that was made in America. I just never even heard of it.
Do you think maybe it was just made for Netflix?
If it's very apparent when something is just made for Netflix.
Gotcha.
Hulu has a show called Tumbledown, I think, and it's a stop motion. It's very beautiful. Check that out. I mean, it's just a really nicely. In fact, it looks just like Nick Parker, this illustrator that I really like. He'll draw this character that he's been drawing since he was a kid called Missile Mouse. He does these comics called Missile Mouse, and it's like this. All the characters are, I shouldn't say all. There's some aliens and stuff, but a lot of them are like anthropomorphized animal characters. Boy, oh boy, when I see Tumbledown, I'm like, I hope somebody paid Jake Parker because these look just like his drawings. But anyway, it's very beautiful. It's nicely made, and the pacing's nice. There's some. That's another thing too. Is like a lot of the formulaic stuff in cartoons that we've all grown accustomed to. I think a lot of the rules are going out the window. Even in
nice.
Preschool. A lot in, we see it in a lot of like Adventure Time really opened the door for a lot.
That's thanks to
Yeah,
Teletubbies.
yeah.
They really were the ones that really broke that wide open.
Yeah, they did. Sure did.
Like, hey, let's just make an acid trip for babies.
Don't ever look
Did you
back.
guys, this is interesting too. There's, I guess the streaming is kind of breaking things open, but there's a dude he's a filmmaker, creator. He had a show on Nickelodeon, like maybe last year or in the summer of 2016. Basically, Cartoon Brew put out an article about his show and it not doing super well and not getting marketed at all. And he went on and basically was told he has to defend the show. Like he was brought into a room and said, you have to like
go on
Cartoon Brew and go after this or whatever. And he's since come out with another sort of like article about this whole, like the whole ecosystem, especially around Nickelodeon, they take SpongeBob and put it up on a pedestal, and that's all they show. And they basically show that in the prime slots because they're afraid to show anything else. And it's something, we saw when we were...
Well, it goes into a lot of things, but the gist of it is like these guys don't know what they're doing, pretty much. Like,
right.
And there's a revolving door of like squares and suits that are calling the shots, and therefore nothing's ever going to come out
right.
of there.
And that's kind of what happened to Disney during their sallow period.
Right, but
they lost their way.
But I guess the little difference is that Disney was in there wasn't a whole sea change around the time Disney was in their sallow period. Like there was TV, but it wasn't like
it was kind of like the whole industry was kind of
there was a whole like kind of like everything was a little rocky. So right now there's a huge change in how we consume things happening, and Nickelodeon, even before that rise, before that shift, like you're right, Keith, they basically are in a position. This is something a lot of networks and studios do or had been doing, where they have one hit that they've had a series of successes and gotten to a successful point, and they do not understand how they got there. Yeah, and so they don't want to rock the boat. They want to ride that height, ride that wave as far as they can, and nothing they can do should rock that.
They want to wring that sponge dry.
Right, like make as much dime off of that as they can, and rehash Ninja Turtles, which was kind of popular. Let's see how that can work. And
well, they've done that quite successfully
a couple times. But the thing is, when it comes down to it, they just push themselves. They basically slowly let themselves recede out of relevance. And if all you are is a syndication channel for SpongeBob SquarePants with the occasional like cartoon, if someone happens to flip it in the right time, then what are you? Like you're just Nick at Night.
Yeah,
for a single cartoon.
Here's the thing and listen, I'm not a defender of Nickelodeon at all. But this guy who wrote this article, and I read the first one because a friend of ours linked us to it, and the guy has an axe to grind without a doubt, and so that kind of taints it a little bit,
right? And
but another thing
too
that he's ignoring is the successes that they continue to have. I mean, he's talking about how this channel doesn't take a chance. Meanwhile, they made The Last Airbender. You know what I mean? They made Avatar: The Last Airbender, which, talk about taking a chance. That was a huge gamble.
That was a long time ago, though.
Yeah, but then they made Korra. They've made Korra since then.
Yeah, but see,
Korra continues to underperform, but they still continued to support it.
But they also didn't market Korra strongly, and they didn't put it in any prime slots.
Because they've already been through that with Avatar. They knew that, they knew the cap to their audience for Avatar already before they made Korra. And listen, again, I'm not defending them. I'm just saying that this guy's got a perspective.
He definitely does.
And he's well, I don't know about purposefully. He's not mentioning certain things. Like the Ninja Turtles, that gets plenty of airplay on Nickelodeon, and it gets and it makes them tons of money.
Right.
And that's not SpongeBob. You know what I mean?
But is that a Nickelodeon production?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They I don't know if they own it or what. Somehow they.
I feel like Ninja Turtles keeps getting new adaptations like every 2 years.
I think
They've mastered
this is the third run on it.
Yeah.
On no way. This is like the fourth or fifth
On the animated series?
on just Ninja Turtles. Hey, it's been another 5 years. Let's make another Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, no, because I've noticed there just were so many different takes.
Mm-hmm. And in fact, one of the most recent. So in one of the most recent iterations of the Ninja Turtles, they went through every version. There was an alternate reality thing where they went to every Ninja Turtle universe.
That's hilarious. What is the current version 2D or 3D?
3D.
Yeah, maybe that's the last one I saw.
Yeah, and it was in the 3D one that they ended up going through the different things, and they were a different style each time. But that's all I'm saying about that. I mean, listen, I've done I've made a pilot for Nickelodeon. It was actually a great experience working with the people that I work with. But after the pilot was done, it's just kind of in this weird no man's land of weird.
Which, like you said, that's something that's not exclusive to Nickelodeon either, or any creative house. That's going to happen to all kinds of stuff.
What that is a really big company,
right?
But it is what is true at the essence of what this guy's saying is Nickelodeon is getting they're getting their lunch eaten by Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network is just taking them
that's
to the
been true
cleaners.
for at least the past 5 to 8 years.
Yeah, and it's with stuff that Nickelodeon passed on. Adventure Time was made for Nickelodeon, the pilot, and they passed on it. And boy, what a mistake, Yeah. But that's that's.
But looking forward for better, stronger stuff, maybe even from Nickelodeon.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing that guy didn't mention any live action stuff, and Nickelodeon does really well with their live action stuff.
Yeah. You know what we should pitch?
What?
To Nickelodeon? Little Trump.
Little teeth.
Here comes the little Trump. Boom, boom. Would it be the Trump kid? Whose dad is the president?
Barron.
No, like Trump as a kid,
as a baby.
Building buildings out of blocks and stuff.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Do it in the style of the PJs, though.
Yeah, and he's got a pet that's always on his head.
I think he would have the hair even then.
Yeah, but it's
like
just you just
Chihuahua
you just
something.
anthropomorphize it.
Anything else besides animation you're looking forward to?
Those are some things. What's weird is I don't follow enough music stuff to know what's on the horizon. I would have to just kind of keep updating people on what's good there.
I did get my Spotify email
where you get 99 cents for 3 months,
where they tell me what happened in 2016 to me.
Oh wow!
So, and I think it's skewed because I think The Office uses my Spotify on the Sonos. So it says here that I had 9,200 minutes of listening.
Wow!
1,183 artists and 1,708 unique tracks listened to.
Wow!
Nice.
And then
that's neat. They send that as an email.
Yeah, it's just like a long email. It says my top tracks. The Heinz.
It had to be Queens.
No,
it had to be Queen.
No, it was the Heinz Chili Town was my top track for this year.
What is that?
They're this fun Portuguese or Spanish girl punk band. They're fun. Friday I'm in Love by Yola Tango was another one. And then Good Feeling from the Violet Femmes. Those were my 3 top tracks I guess I listened to
So those you can't blame on the Sonos.
right.
You listen to those.
My top artists were Wilco, Hedwig and the Angry Inch, Shirley Walker,
I don't even know who that is.
Joe Pisapia, who we talked about with Pat,
Yeah.
and Oliver, the 1994 London Palladium cast.
So it's almost as if this podcast is affecting your life.
I know, exactly. and so that it sort of runs down like genres. It basically shows that Wednesday was like the standout day for listening, and I barely listened on Saturday and Sundays. So it's got to be all work.
So Wednesdays are your day.
Wednesday's the day, but like Monday through Friday was all like 50%, and Wednesday's 100%,
Spike.
and Saturday, Sunday are like 5%.
Real quick, another thing I'm really looking forward to is watching another season of the Golden State Warriors play in the NBA. They're just a joy to watch for basketball. And after the finals last year, I had sworn off the NBA, and I was like, "That's it. I'm done." But then the Golden State Warriors got Kevin Durant on their team, and I was like, "Oh boy, got to see what happens here." One of the greatest basketball players of all time just joined the greatest team of all time, or one of the greatest teams of all time. It has not let me down.
You think you'll
really
try to go
something.
see them play if they come to New York?
That would be really fun, but probably not. Probably not. I'm a bit of a homebody these days, as you guys probably already know. But it would be really great to see them play the Nets. That would be a really fun game. Those tickets in Brooklyn do not end up being that expensive.
Yeah.
That's good. How are the Nets doing? Are they getting better?
No, this is a
That's
bad
too
season
bad.
for the Nets. Though they've got some interesting stuff cooking. They've really shaken up their team. A longtime Nets player named Brook Lopez is one of my favorite basketball players right now, and he has been for the last several years. I first started enjoying watching him play because he reminded me of the character Caliban from the Clash of the Titans. Maybe we'll put that up in the show notes to show those two next to each other. Caliban, Brook Lopez. But this year, Brook Lopez is playing, and he's starting to get old now, and he's just playing better and better. He's really, really good. And he's one of my favorite big men. The poor guy, I just wish he would end up on a better team because he deserves better. He works really hard.
They should just make it a better team for him
They tried.
and for Brooklyn.
They tried. They really tried. They threw a ton of money and a ton of like really short-sighted dumb deals on like one season, and nothing happened. So then after that, like all the money was gone. I'll try to explain it. It's kind of a mixed up deal, but in basketball, if you don't make the playoffs, you're entered into the lottery to get a draft pick, so to help your team get better. So it's become common, and I mean so common that certain teams have built their strategies around losing. So it's called tanking. Everybody knows about it. And if there's a draft pick on your way and you're pretty sure you're not going to make the playoffs anyway, you just tank the season so that you have a higher, and the lower your rank at the end of the season, the higher your likelihood of getting the first draft pick.
So it's like a race to the bottom.
Yes.
Jeez.
And so generally speaking,
Is there ever games where just two teams are trying to tank
yes,
against each other?
double tanking happens all the time. In fact, if Adam were here, we could have a discussion because his home team, Philadelphia 76ers, have tanked on purpose for at least 4 years straight.
Wow.
And they've continued to get great draft picks, and even with these great draft picks, they're continuing to tank. It's called the process. It's really annoying to see.
Because
Are they playing a long game, or did they just forget? That
No, they're
it's
playing
about
a
winning?
long. They're
But
playing
like, is
a
it
long
something
game.
where they go up against another team who's like vying on this in the same position as them, and so it's like these two teams that are both trying to lose this game, like one specific game that
It's-
they're
Are
playing.
they developing like better strategies for losing and stuff?
It's a complicated. It's
oh no!
complicated.
I scored off you. Oh man!
So what they would claim is, what the teams would claim is, they're actually trying to win each of an individual game. And the players cannot actually be held responsible because they really are. Each player is really trying their best, but they're in a losing system. And their key players will be injured for like half the season. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like that way.
Is
you
it
don't
like
have to worry
injured
about
in quotes?
Injuries are real. Injuries are real, but everyone's injured all the time.
It's
so
a
at
matter
any
of
given
like
point,
cycling and what the coaches decide. Like how are the coaches in on this? Like the owners are telling them like
it's not a secret. Like Philadelphia is tanking. It's not a secret.
but who's like making the call?
Right now, probably Dallas is tanking. If they're not tanking yet, they will be tanking. Dallas, they're just teams that are just like, they call it like a rebuilding year. We're gonna scrap this year, get a good group of rookies next year, and restructure. Because of that system, it makes for some really interesting long-term things. But right now, Brooklyn is in a situation where they should be tanking. I mean, I don't think any team should ever tank, but if according to the talking heads, they should be tanking to try to get some picks for next season. But they traded away their pick to Boston, so they're in this weird situation where they're like, we shouldn't tank anyway because if we get a high draft pick, Boston's going to get it, and they're in our division. So it's a really sad story for Brooklyn. They're in a real hard spot, but their facility is really nice, and
there's a Shake Shack right outside it.
Yeah, inside you can get Shake Shack.
That might be the problem right there.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I'll tell you the problem, and I'm going to get a little political here. The people that built that stadium promised to build X amount of low-cost and middle-income housing around the area, and they haven't. And that's a real bonehead move.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of. In fact, they stopped giving away those deals where there was a lot of construction and work where people were getting those breaks and getting those sort of construction deals on the promise that they would make housing a certain percentage of this building is going to be low income housing, or I'm building this building and give me an exception so I can be 8 stories tall instead of the requisite 5, because I'm going to put nursing students in here and we're going to make it cheap for those nursing students. So the more units I have, the more students I can have, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I've built the building and I'm not doing that. Yeah. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah. There's been a lot of bait and switch. The whole downtown Brooklyn expansion was supposed to be bringing in like business development, but then like I think it was with the turn in the economy, they just like changed all those plans, and that's how everything became luxury condos. And it was supposed to like revitalize downtown Brooklyn and bring in jobs, and none of that.
Instead, all it's done is created like almost a weird gated community.
And like empty, like half empty eyesore buildings too.
All those buildings are huge.
Because there's also then a lot of buildings around that, like anticipating this development. Like the other owners started like pushing out their tenants so they could sell their lots or build in place, but that hasn't materialized. So right now you just have empty blocks now, and you had thriving businesses getting kicked out for no reason.
That's why Trump's got to come in and fix it all. I mean, that's what he's the perfect man for that job.
I did read a pretty
turn it
fun
all to
article
gold.
About how New York should just, because Trump is such a big fan of eminent domain.
Yeah,
New York should just take the Trump Tower, because at this point it's hindering business on Fifth Avenue.
And it's costing the city a ton
$1 million a day or whatever.
That's so depressing.
But anyhow, so that's...
Anyway, 2017, y'all. Yeah, I'm going to turn it all around.
Such a question, there are many possible answers, such as hard work.
Years ago, the holies are good.
Feel I'm alone in this whole of it.
So hey, everybody, thanks for listening to our 2017 Look Forward. Hey, gang, so we're going to have a new topic next week, and we're also going to be in a new season. We're going to have Okay Fine, Ali. Adam is going to be our guest on that. We're going to start season 3 with a new topic. And we're also going to start a new format. Part of that format is letting you guys know what our topic's going to be and what our pick's going to be for the upcoming episode.
We're shaking it up.
Shaking things up.
Shake and bake.
So the next topic's going to be Okay Fine, Ali, where we have delved into things that we've put off, either things that people have told us we need to watch or things that we've
were aware of in the popular culture.
And for some reason
kinda
just didn't do it.
Didn't get around to, always had it in our Netflix queue and just kept passing it by. Like, I'll watch that 2-hour movie some other day. So my pick is going to be first on deck. It's the 2007 feature Hot Fuzz, the second in the Cornetto trilogy, directed by Edgar Wright, starring Nick Frost and Simon Pegg. And it's a cop action-adventure movie.
And
It's-
a buddy
and
picture.
a buddy picture, which they try to sneak into all their features. The previous Cornetto film being Shaun of the Dead, and the one following this being World's End. But Hot Fuzz is the one to watch if you want to get on top of next week's pick. Yeah. So to find out more about the show and the things that we talked about, go
Always
check out
the show notes.
newtoyoushow.com. And I might, going into New Year, I might have figured out a way to put it on a website, like put the Tumblr inside a website.
What?
So that using
like magic.
Adobe Muse, and then but then through that we could have a page that's all the episodes, like basically off the Tumblr, have other things, like we could put other pages on. So the Tumblr could still be sort of like the show note
Scrolling through.
thing, and where you can listen, and then we could have sort of a page where if someone wanted to go listen to all the episodes, like there would just be just the episodes there. Or
Without the show notes, you mean?
Yeah, or you could hit info and see the
Or
show
you can
notes.
just have a list of shows and just click one.
Yeah,
That's
like we can throw permalinks to the specific thing or something, but basically build a way so that I'm going to look at that in my podcasting thing. So but newtoyoushow.com, you can find out all the info. You can follow us on Twitter at newtoyoushow. That's where you'll find info about what's coming up, and also that's a good place maybe to reach out if you have any questions or comments on the content in the show. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you should rate and review on iTunes. The more people listen to the show, and the more rating and reviewing, the better we get traction on iTunes, and more people can see us. So please do that. And
leave a comment.
Leave a comment and a review. And gang, it may not be new. Oh, but wait. I was one of your hosts this week, John Holt. You can find me on Twitter at Lord Joho. Keith, where can people find you?
People can find me at my house, or if they want to see my website, it's earthlingkeith.com.
And you can find me, Julian Cage, on Twitter or Instagram at BeautifulJules, Jules.
All right. Gang, should old acquaintance be forgot? And never brought to light. Should old acquaintance be
Old Man Potter!
Knows of old lang syne. It may not be new, but maybe it's new to you in this new year. All right.
Explosion sound of champagne.
This pitiful life is all about the music. This pitiful life is all about the music. This pitiful life is all about the music.
With him together forever, without the limitation of time ever again. So the second coming of the Lord is not dead. They're two separate